Hello YouTube and Messenger. Um, this is the Wheeze. This is my third transition continued. And I want to apologize to Marci, Pieronik, for something I said inadvertently yesterday. I mentioned my Neanderthal heritage, and the way I said it made it sound like she called me a Neanderthal. She did not. That was my word. And I apologize in a way for that. And also, one thing I want to do with this post is to say that we have misunderstood the Neanderthals, whether you say it with a th or without the theismo. I think they were probably as intelligent as we sapiens are. They were human too. They lasted twice as long as we have so far, so we cannot yet say that we are more successful than they are just because they're gone and we're still here, although we do carry some of their genes within us. I'm going to adjust this a little bit because the wind is blowing the screen. There we go. And I actually wrote a poem, or maybe an essay about it, a couple of years back, and I want to read that for you now. Just find it on my old cell phone here. By the way, it is wonderful in the park today. It always seems so windy here, much more than back home, 7 miles away. So I can find Neanderthals here. And also let me say that the part of my dysphoria is the confusion, because when I see myself from certain angles and in certain light and at certain times of day, I look different. I look younger at times and older at times. But when I woke up this morning and looked in the mirror, my neck was completely smooth. It wasn't wrinkled or furrowed or anything. And I looked closely. Maybe it's the way the blood settles when you're asleep. I don't know. It doesn't look so bad right now. I'm kind of in the dark here, but I'm also, the camera is more head on, and you know, the lower angles do not do me any good, and of course high definition is not my friend. But I want to say that I'm not a pessimistic person. And when I talk about things that bother me physically about the way I look, it's just my way of working through, and maybe there's a little grieving, maybe there's a little complaining, but even at my lowest, I know the next morning I'll wake up and see things in a brighter way. This is kind of a long poem, or essay, and it's largely based on science, of science programs that I have seen on the Discovery Channel's Animal Planet, National Geographic, and PBS, like Nova and Nature. And there was a wonderful series on PBS about how other species of human have affected our last remaining species of human. And a lot of the immunities that were developed in other species, because there was some intermingling of the species, we have been the beneficiaries of. And the old view of Neanderthals, especially our closest species in our genus of Homo, they have been maligned because who writes the history? Not the Neanderthals, but us. So we started off thinking that they were stooped over. Turned out that the first skeleton that was found was arthritic. Well, of course they didn't have as large brains. Well, they had brains much larger than ours. Oh, but they didn't have the frontal lobes. Well, you know, maybe they had more frontal lobes than we thought. Oh, but they didn't make art, and you know, they didn't do all kinds of things. They did. We're finding out more and more all the time that there are many parallels between our current species of human and the Neanderthals. And so this poem encapsulates that idea. About Neanderthals. Forget what you know about Neanderthals. You may have seen the picture of the progress left to right, from monkey to ape to them to us, but life does not proceed in a straight line to perfection. Life branches like a bush, like a tree, like nerves and veins. Populations don't exist in series, but expand exponentially. Even scientists used to downgrade our brother species, whose line, though, survived to evaluate and judge the other. They are not around to check our data and refute our findings. The fact that we are here and they are not is not important, as they lasted twice our span so far through the worst of times. If your grandfather lives a century and you less than half of that, are you the success just because you managed to die later? All the things we thought we knew of Neanderthals were wrong. At first, they were stooped and bent, as we were straight and tall. But that early model skeleton was of one elderly and arthritic. Then they were not smart because brow ridges cramped the brains. We ignored the fact that they possessed the larger craniums by far. So they lacked development in the prefrontal cortex, we noted, grasping at self-serving straws. And they had no art or culture. However, the evidence keeps coming in to thwart our prejudice. They made figurines and beaded necklaces and fixed spear points. Finally, we said, well, they weren't really closely related to us, were they? A strange statement when we know chimpanzees and gorillas share 98% of our DNA. My ex once blurted to friends that I said Italians were Neanderthals, when I had merely mused that Mediterraneans had certain traits. He did not hear the part where I believed our two species were equal. We need not look for analogs in the Vulcans or Klingons of science fiction. Our other humanoids were right here with us for thousands of years. And the kicker is that our two genomes now show we did intermingle, and that all modern non-Africans have 1 to 4% of the DNA of our Neanderthal brethren. Northern Italians having the 4%. Take that, Alan. Neanderthals, or their predecessors, and perhaps ours, Homo heidelbergensis, were the first Europeans with white to beige skin, maybe blonde and red hair. They followed another species to Asia that my ex calls upright man because, well, just because he rejects Latin and can't say Homo erectus and not giggle. We and the Neanderthals probably mated with Homo denisova, recently discovered in Siberia, another offshoot of our friends Neanderthalensis. Another offshoot of our friends Heidelbergensis. And that is not all. Remember that life does not go in a straight lineage, but branches like a tree. Scientific speculation is that many of the branches of genus Homo intertwined back in Africa when there were dozens of us spreading out all over the continent. Such was the early human diversity that closely related species could interact and produce hybrids and even new species, complicating things no end for science. So what does all this mean for our remaining most homogeneous race? Of course, it means that humans, whatever the species, are forever randy and just indiscriminate enough to distribute our genes all over the world. Unfortunately, this means diseases often spread like wildfire, as we know all too well. But it also means isolated populations who have dealt with certain maladies often contribute their immunities to the general population for the benefit of all. Time and time again, the false ideology of purity is disproved to the futile denial of those who would separate us and breed us into sickly clone-like enclaves of humanity, when diversity, genetically as well as culturally, is the very answer to our health and survival. So that is my look at the Neanderthal, and I am proud to have their genes running through my body. Although I probably would get a little brow shave if I could. Well, this has nothing to do with them, but I could use a facelift, I think. But don't worry for me. For one thing, I have no money. And I'm in enough debt that I'm not going to incur anymore. But that's it for today, YouTube. That's me and the Neanderthals. Goodbye.